Do you have challenges with the honey locust and black locust, different types of evasive trees that actually fix nitrogen? I'm going to show you in this video how to manage these trees. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. What you're looking at right now used to be a mound of wood chips, and there were some honey locust trees basically nurseryed here. And what I did was I mounded the wood chips up around the base of where these trees start coming up, and I used it as a storage area. Now, honey locusts are nitrogen fixing trees, but if you just cut them off at the ground, they become very nasty bushes. So what we did was we basically allowed one or two stalks to come up, and you'll see these thicker trees, and then basically pruned all the branches off of them until it's like over my head. So I do want the shade of the tree because that's going to shade my nursery area, but I ultimately don't want the tree to spread anywhere. And as you can see, these giant roots come out and they go everywhere. You might be thinking, well, letting the tree grow doesn't remove the tree. Well, the tree wants to grow, and it will continue to grow whether you like it or not, unless you give it the opportunity to grow so that it kind of concentrates all of its energy on a main stem. Once it's concentrated all of its energy on the main stem, you can dig the soil and materials out from around it and leave them out to dry. A dry honey locust root will not sprout. So there's actually 3 trees here, and one of the trees just fell over. So by letting it fall over and then digging these roots out, by the way, I'm getting the benefit of nitrogen fixation. I can then keep the tree from coming up in other areas. Now, I couldn't pull all of this root out, so I just left some of it above the ground. As it dries out, I'll chop off pieces, I'll dig up material, I'll dig up some of the roots, but you need to dig up the whole root, because if you leave behind any pieces and the tree has not dried out, drying out takes the moisture out of the root, then the tree will sprout again. So instead of cutting it off at the ground, I simply allowed it to grow. I then mounted materials around it, used it as a storage place for materials, and then as I pull those materials away to pot plants up, I basically dig up and expose the roots, which causes the tree to panic. Now I got to still come back here and cut off all these little pieces. You want to keep taking these branches off, but this is a function of what they call chop and drop. So I'll chop this off, drop it. Now this is a very good hardwood, so I'm actually growing, you see the spikes on it, I'm actually growing tool handles and fence posts. But this network of root underneath here, it's okay to start digging it out as you go. And so you can see this piece of root here, you can see how it's starting to sprout again. I need to make sure I dig all that out. So right here where I just broke it off, it's likely to sprout again, so I'll take a shovel and dig that up. You got to dig up the entire root system or expose it enough that it dries out. And by cutting off all the lower branches, it's going to put all of its energy into the top of the tree, and it's going to give you some shade. It's going to give you all this fodder. And so you can actually cut the top of the tree in what's called a pollard, which would be cutting it above your head. So this is just the nursery area here. It's quite rough. I need to clean it up for the season, get all these plants out of here and get them in the ground. But again, from time to time, you're going to have trees grow up, and if I cut it off at the ground, that web of roots that's under there is all going to sprout. So again, you trim the side branches, dig up the plants you can dig up. If you have any large root, you expose the root, let it dry out. You can turn this stuff into biochar. You can turn it into fencing material because it won't rot. And then again, if you see the root run off, you got to go dig all that root up. It's similar to removing bamboo. Anyway, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. Visit us at www.prosperityhomestead.org. I'd love to answer your questions and see if we can't help you solve some problems around your small farm, homestead, or estate.